I'm gonna say it, Bardock is one of the most coolest characters that exists in the drama universe, and I don't care if you disagree, I will fight you for it. Actually, if you disagree, I don't really care. This is just my opinion. At the end of the day, I can say whatever I want, as you can as well. Before I hop into it, this is your last, I guess, spoiler alert warning in case you didn't read chapter 77 of the DBS manga. We're gonna talk about stuff that went down. So, first things first, I knew it! I knew that Granola was not the final boss. He's not the final villain. I don't like how that has been, I guess, the focus of this entire arc so far, because it's like they've been fighting Granola for like what, 4, 5, 6 months now, because again they drop these chapters once a month, so it's kind of hard to keep up and stay interested at the same time when nothing really happens. But I knew it. It's like the second Granola shows up, it's like something doesn't feel right. He's not a bad guy. It's like he wants revenge for what happened like many years ago, and you know, all he needs is that information that says, hey, by the way, these guys aren't dicks, stop fighting them, and then that's it. Like, there's something else that's gonna go down. And we see that. Before we hop into Bardock, let's talk about the heaters. The heaters show up 40 years ago as well. 40 years ago as well. It's so hard to speak sometimes. 40 years ago as well, and they apparently were the ones who orchestrated the entire attack on this Cerulean planet, whatever. And they're basically just trying to make money, because that's what they do. They're like the middlemen that basically sell the planets after it's been conquered by Frieza and stuff like that. But yeah, we saw them collecting Dragon Balls last month as well, so they're doing something as well. Now, what I will not like, if they end up doing the same thing that Granola did and just wish for power, I'm not gonna be the biggest fan of that. It's such a like cop-out way of, you know, throwing up the next villain. But at the same time, it's like, again, with what happened in the series so far, with how powerful Goku and Vegeta and now Granola are, it's kind of hard to throw in another villain that pops out of nowhere. Like, it wouldn't make that much sense. So whether they wish for immortality or just wish to become a god of destruction, I don't know what the rules are or what the limitations are, but if that ends up being how they basically become powerful, not gonna be the biggest fan. I mean, for all you know, they might even just wish to take over Granola's body and then basically make him a permanent puppet. But again, I don't know if there's rules behind that as well. We'll have to basically wait till next month. But I knew that the heaters are gonna be the main antagonist at some point, which again goes back to, you know, the whole pacing of the arc so far. And I don't like the fact that we just spent, you know, literally months developing this fight for nothing to really happen. I mean, you know, if Granola somehow end up being the main bad guy and gets stronger and stronger as he fights, and now he has the power of both eyes, sure, but still, it was just kind of stale compared to what we're getting, you know, the last couple arcs. You know, again, Moro, I like the arc really well. You introduce a character who's not necessarily the strongest, but he has magic, and how do you fight a character with magic? Exactly. So yeah, anyways, so the heaters thing, if you have any opinions to that, let me know down below. But let's talk about Bardock. So again, Bardock caused some controversy online, and by controversy I mean people liked it, people disliked it, and because there's differing opinions, everybody fights each other. I don't understand that. It's like if someone says something and you disagree, it's okay to have a, you know, civil conversation, which is something I like about doing these videos. It's like when I talk about something, you guys talk about something, we can have a fun civil conversation about it. Comment section below, let me know how you feel about the whole Bardock, I guess, lore that was thrown out in this chapter. And the reason why I say that is because apparently it didn't really make much sense to a lot of people. Unless I read it wrong and I really didn't understand why people were upset, to the ones that were upset. Apparently people were pretty upset that it was Goku that made Bardock more, I guess, human, more good. Because Raditz is right there. But the way I see it is, I just assumed that when Raditz was born, he was never really there for it. You know, based on how Gine mentions it, is when Saiyans are born, the fathers aren't really there. It's like the fathers, you know, they get a nut off, and then they go to another planet to conquer it, and then rinse and repeat. That's what they do. They're literally just a warrior race that don't really have emotions and stuff like that. But something about Goku being born, Bardock developed something that made him be like, that's my son right there. I don't know what it is. It's like the second he saw Goku in the pod, he was like, yep, his name's Kakarot. That's my boy right there. Maybe he saw, I don't know, the potential in him or something. I don't know, but there's something about Goku that when he saw Goku, made him more human. Which fast forward to when they took over the planet Ceruleans, or Cereal, whatever the planet was called. When he runs into Musa, which is Granola's mom, I'm pretty sure I mispronounced the hell out of that name, but Granola's mom, he actually ends up sparing them. So what ends up happening to kind of like break down the attack on planet Cereal or Cerealians, whatever it's called, the Saiyans show up. They become great apes, they destroy everything, and then it's a wrap. But because it was such a defenseless planet, they took it over pretty fast. And right before the people who were defending the planet realized that, they destroyed the moon, and then by the time everybody turned back to their Saiyan form, the invasion was essentially done. But right around that time, it was Bardock who was about to basically attack Granola and his mom, but he stopped because I guess he had a flashback on when Goku was born. And right when that happened is when he turns back, and he ends up sparing both Granola and his mom. By the way, some lore. We see that Saiyan, I think his name was Leek, that had that scar on his head in the DBS Broly movie. He gets that scar on that planet. I always love it when they toss out little tidbits here and there of lore building for like how they get these scars and things like that. So it's cool to see that. But yeah, he got blasted in the head while he was a great ape. So when he turned back, he had a scar on his head. And that's where that comes from. But yeah, so he spares them. He checks his scouter. He realizes that there's another survivor left on the planet, which is the Namekian. I think his name starts with an M. I don't really remember. And he takes Granola and his mom over there. That's when he's like, yo, just protect him, yada, yada, yada. But the heaters show up, and stupid-ass Granola wakes up. He yells at Bardock and goes to Saiyan. And then that causes the heaters to essentially check out what's going on, which is when they realize that Bardock was there. And Bardock, I guess, trying to think fast, just has a rope get thrown on him and then tries to basically play it off like, oh, yeah, I'm killing the survivors, don't worry. Y'all can leave. But they're not going to leave. So what ends up happening is right before, when he's like, go ahead and kill them, yada, 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 he doesn't necessarily do it right away. And what ends up happening is the heaters end up killing Granola's mom, which is probably going to be the big thing that's going to cause, I guess, the shift in anger and rage in the next chapter. I mean, at this point, Granola realizes that he was spared because of Bardock, a Saiyan who basically helped him. And here he is trying to avenge his people by killing the Saiyans. We're going to get that shift next chapter. But apparently, the thing that Vegeta says is like the reason why, you know, Bardock, I guess, was more kinder or whatever, or runs his family, was because of, I don't know, it's just the way Goku was born. Now, it is a bit confusing, because if you think about it, it's like, not Goku, but Bardock has been working for Frieza for who knows how long at this point. He's taken over so many planets. And we saw in the history of Bardock as well, you know, many years ago, that he was more kinder than most Saiyans. You know, it's like he was basically just doing what he was told, but not really questioning it. But you could tell that, like, when he was killing people and taking stuff over for Frieza, he didn't really necessarily like it. Again, based on this chapter, turns out the reason why he became kinder was because of Goku. You know, you saw Goku get born, and something in him caused him to want to change. I mean, you know how they say, it's like when you become a dad, your priorities change and you become a different person. And maybe that's what it is. Who knows? But again, I guess maybe one reason why people were upset about that is why didn't it happen to Raditz? And to answer that, maybe just completely wasn't there when Raditz was born. I mean, Gine literally says it's like Saiyans, they just give birth and then they leave. Like they get a nut off and then done. And maybe that's what it was. Maybe Raditz was born without Bardock ever being in his life. He just was born and literally got tossed into being, you know, a conquering Saiyan. That's what happens. But he just happened to be there for Goku, and then that's what caused a shift in him. But like, I don't know. I like Bardock. Bardock is cool to me. You know, he's always been that character that's been so interesting to me. And I always wanted to see more lore. And I'm happy we're getting that, you know. And again, what I said last month, as far as Goku's reaction, we're probably going to get nothing. That's exactly what happened. It's like when they mentioned that the person that saved Granola and his mom was a resembling Saiyan to Goku. Goku's like, I have no idea. You know, I grew up on Earth. You know, Grandpa Gohan was my dad. And then Vegeta mentions like, no, that's your dad. That's your father. And it's like, oh, well, I don't really know much about it. You know, you can't blame him. I didn't expect Goku to be all like, oh, wow, give me some stories. Because he necessarily wouldn't really care. Because, again, to him, it's not really his father, other than the fact it's by blood. To him, his father is always going to be Grandpa Gohan because that's the man that actually raised him. So as far as like how that went down, it went down how exactly I expected to happen last month. Again, you can check out my video, and I think I said something similarly along those lines, and that's what's going to happen. But like, I don't know. I feel like the Bardock thing is going to be kind of a waste because I don't think we're going to get any more than what we got with that, you know. And again, the big focus here is going to be the shift against the heaters and what they end up doing. Now, I will say this. I don't know if I already talked about this or not in this video or not. But if this ends up being a situation where the heaters basically do the same thing where like Granola and they wish for power, I'm not going to be the biggest fan of it. Because again, I like the moral arc, as I mentioned. Because you got a character who's a magician who literally can do spells to fight the strongest characters, and that makes sense. But it's like now you got them introducing another way for characters to be powerful and they're literally wishing for it. It's kind of a cop-out. You know, Granola doing it is a one-time thing, but if they do it again, it's like, bro, come on. I mean, for all you know, they might just wish to take control of Granola's body, you know, in some Zamasu-esque style where they take his body, whether it's through switching bodies, or maybe they use some kind of ability of just taking control with them, like, you know, how Broly was with the necklace in the original Broly movie. They might do something like that, I'm not really sure, but I just hope that they don't wish for power, and that ends up being how this entire chapter or arc shifts, and that ends up being the main focus. But unfortunately, we're probably going to get that. So for now, I'm still very much not necessarily caring about the arc, but I'm still invested because I've been reading it for the last couple months, you know. And I feel like if it goes in the path that I think it's gonna go, when the arc actually ends, I'm like, you know what, it is what it is. It's alright, you know. We ain't got the anime, but I'll take the manga. At least we're getting some kind of content to talk about in the DBS series post, where basically, you know, the Z era ended years ago, even though this takes place in between, you know, Z ending and the Kid Buu fight. You know what I mean, though. But yeah, so yeah, that's basically about it. You know, like I said, I like Bardock. I like the fact that we're getting this extra lore, and it shows how Bardock actually was. And I still wish that the man was able to do something. You know, I hope, and this is something that's never gonna happen, but I hope that we get like a DBS version of the history of Bardock again. It might be the same movie, I don't really care, but that'd be so dope to see in like 2021, 2022 era of like how the last couple moments of the Saiyan fight went against Frieza. It might be kind of redundant because essentially it'd be the same movie, but at this point, I don't really care. Just give me more Bardock, and that's all that matters. So yeah, so comment section below, let me know your thoughts of the entire chapter so far. Again, nothing really happened other than the lore building with the character, and kind of what we talked about, what we thought was going to happen last month, ended up happening this month. And by the way, one last thing I talk about is that moment where Bardock stares at, you know, Granola and his mom, and then the next panel says, "You missed his birth." At first, I thought, like, there's no way. Like, is Granola like half Saiyan and he's like related to Bardock? And I know when the leaks happened and the translations came out originally, people had to have been mixed. Because I read the original translation, and at first I'm like, wait a minute. There's no way that that actually was a panel of Granola's mom talking to Bardock, because that would have been kind of wild. But I feel like when the original leaks happened, there probably had to be some kind of confusion with everybody. And luckily I stayed away from that, because again, I try not to read these chapters until the full chapters are out, because again, things like this could happen. But I can just imagine the chaos and confusion when this first came out, because it had to have been pretty wild. So if something did happen, let me know down below how the community originally reacted. But yeah, overall though, let me know your thoughts on the whole Bardock shenanigans and how you feel about it. Again, I saw a lot of people who were upset, but also a lot of people that weren't upset, which always ends up happening with these chapters. To me, it was a fun chapter. Again, nothing really was added to the story that much that, you know, I didn't expect to already happen. And it kind of went in the same direction I thought it was going to go, and that's about it. But other than that, let me know your thoughts down below and give me your best predictions for next month. But we'll see what happens. Again, I don't want this to be like a review type of series. I mostly just want this to be a thing where we just sit down and talk about, you know, like my overall thoughts as well as your thoughts on what goes down. So it's like a half review, but not really. You know what I mean. So yeah, I'm gonna end the video right here. So let me know your thoughts down below. And again, let me know how you feel about Bardock and everything else that went down in chapter 77. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Rhymestyle. I'll see you in the comment section below. Peace.